On a scorching Los Angeles morning, 12-year-old Emily Martinez arranged plastic cups at her simple lemonade stand. Behind her shy smile and determined eyes lay a secret. This wasn't just another summer business. Her trembling hands clutched a worn notebook filled with careful calculations, while a handmade sign declared, "Lemonade, a cup of hope, $1." As teenagers approached with mocking grins, she hadn't noticed the motorcycle pulling up, or how its rider, Keanu Reeves, had already seen everything. Emily woke before sunrise, her small hands already knowing their morning dance with lemons and sugar. The kitchen was quiet except for the gentle squeaking of the citrus juicer, a sound that reminded her of happier times. Her grandmother's recipe card sat propped against the sugar container, its edges worn and spotted with years of love and use. Every morning started the same way: 6 cups of water, 2 cups of fresh lemon juice, and exactly 1 3/4 cups of sugar. The measurements had to be perfect, just like Grandma Rosa had taught her last summer, before everything changed. Emily closed her eyes, remembering her grandmother's gentle voice explaining how the perfect balance of sweet and tart could make any day better. In the dim kitchen light, she worked methodically, her movements careful not to wake her exhausted mother who had finally fallen asleep after another late hospital shift. The house felt heavy with silence, so different from the laughter and chaos that used to fill these walls before her father lost his job and her little brother Tommy got sick. The notebook beside her told the story in careful columns: daily earnings, expenses, and the growing but still insufficient total. $342 saved so far, a drop in the ocean compared to Tommy's medical bills, but Emily refused to let that discourage her. Each penny counted, each cup of lemonade was one step closer to helping her family. As she packed her supplies into the red wagon that had once carried Tommy's toys, Emily checked her materials list one final time. Fresh lemons from Mr. Garcia's market. He'd started giving her extras after learning about Tommy. Ice from Mrs. David's convenience store. She always added a few extra bags with a knowing smile. Cups from the dollar store, carefully counted and stacked. And most importantly, her grandmother's silver ladle, the one that supposedly carried luck in every pour. The morning air still held a hint of coolness as Emily pulled her wagon down the quiet street. Other kids her age were probably still sleeping, enjoying their summer break with video games and pool parties. But Emily had different priorities now. The medical bills weren't going to pay themselves, and her mother's proud, worried eyes told her everything she needed to know about their situation. Setting up the stand had become a ritual. First, the wobbly table that she'd rescued from their garage sale pile. Then the checkered tablecloth, faded but clean, washed every night without fail. The mason jar for money went on the left, grandmother's recipe card propped carefully against it. Cups arranged in neat rows of 5, just like her math teacher had taught her about arrays. The pitcher went in the center, ice clinking against glass, promising relief from the coming heat. Finally, she hung her sign, "Lemonade, a cup of hope, $1." She'd spent hours on those letters, making sure each one was perfect, even adding little yellow lemons in the corners. Tommy had always said she was the best artist in the family, and she wanted her stand to reflect that pride, that care, that love. As the sun climbed higher, Emily straightened her grandmother's apron, the one with tiny embroidered lemons that she now wore like armor. She touched the silver locket around her neck, the one containing a photo of Tommy from before the hospital stays began. Inside, her heart trembled with the familiar morning anxiety. Would today be better than yesterday? Would enough people stop? Would she inch closer to her goal, or would she watch another day of cars passing by, drivers too busy with their own lives to notice one little girl's mission? But Emily refused to let fear win. She had learned from her mother that strength wasn't about not being scared, it was about doing what needed to be done despite the fear. So she squared her shoulders, practiced her best smile in the reflection of the pitcher, and prepared for another day of serving hope, one cup at a time. What she didn't know was that this ordinary Tuesday was about to become extraordinary, thanks to a chance encounter that would change everything. The morning had started slow, with only a few kind neighbors stopping by for Emily's lemonade. The sun climbed higher in the Los Angeles sky, bringing with it the kind of heat that made cars shimmer on the horizon. Emily was just refilling her pitcher when she heard them, the unmistakable sound of teenage laughter approaching from down the street. A group of high school students rounded the corner, their matching soccer jerseys marking them as members of the local team. Emily's hands tightened around her grandmother's ladle as she recognized Sarah Matthews, the girl who lived 3 houses down. Sarah had once been kind to her, but something had changed when she started high school. The teenagers stopped in front of Emily's stand, their shadows falling across her carefully arranged cups. Sarah stepped forward, a smirk playing at the corners of her mouth. The rest of the group hung back, already snickering. Emily felt her throat tighten as she noticed their phones coming out, cameras pointed in her direction. "Look what we have here," Sarah announced, her voice carrying the artificial sweetness that Emily had learned to dread. "Little Emmy's trying to play business owner." The group's laughter felt like tiny daggers. Emily focused on straightening cups that were already perfectly aligned, willing her hands not to shake. One of the boys leaned over the stand, making a show of inspecting the pitcher. "How much did Mommy help you make this? Or wait, isn't your mom too busy working double shifts now?" The cruel words hung in the air like smoke. Emily's cheeks burned as she remembered her mother's exhausted face this morning, the dark circles under her eyes growing deeper each day. Sarah picked up the recipe card, Emily's grandmother's careful handwriting visible in the sunlight. "Ah, how cute! A family recipe? I heard your grandmother's not doing so well either. Maybe you should be spending time with her instead of playing shop." Emily's fingers curled into fists beneath the table, her nails leaving half-moons in her palms. Across the street, unnoticed by the group, a motorcycle had pulled to a stop. Its rider, dressed in a simple black t-shirt and jeans, watched the scene unfold. Keanu Reeves had been enjoying a rare moment of peace, riding through quiet neighborhoods, when the sound of mocking laughter caught his attention. Now, he observed as the young girl behind the lemonade stand fought to maintain her composure. "Hey, isn't this the same stand you had last week?" another girl chimed in. "Don't tell me you're still trying to save up for your brother's treatment." "That's so." Desperate. The word cut through Emily like ice. Her carefully maintained smile cracked, tears threatening to spill over. Sarah reached for a cup, deliberately knocking over the neat stack Emily had arranged. Plastic cups clattered across the sidewalk as the group erupted in laughter. Emily dropped to her knees, scrambling to collect them before they rolled into the street. Her vision blurred with unshed tears, but she refused to let them fall. She wouldn't give them that satisfaction. The sound of a motorcycle engine cutting off silenced the teenagers' laughter. Heavy boots approached on the sun-baked sidewalk, stopping just at the edge of Emily's vision. A gentle hand appeared in front of her, holding one of her escaped cups. Emily looked up to find herself staring into the kind eyes of Keanu Reeves. The teenagers fell silent, their phones lowering as they recognized the actor. But Keanu's attention remained solely on Emily, his voice soft as he helped her to her feet. The respect in his eyes as he looked at her stand, the way he carefully arranged the recovered cups, spoke volumes. Emily felt something shift in the air, not just the teenager's embarrassed shuffling, but something deeper, as if the universe itself had decided to intervene. In that moment, as Keanu stood quietly beside her simple lemonade stand, Emily realized that sometimes strength comes not from standing alone, but from allowing others to stand with you. She didn't know it yet, but this unexpected encounter would spark a chain of events that would transform not just her summer, but her entire community's understanding of what one person's determination and one stranger's kindness could achieve. The teenagers retreated, their earlier bravado deflated by the presence of someone who radiated genuine kindness. As they disappeared around the corner, Emily found her voice again, small but steady, ready to serve her first cup of lemonade to the unexpected guardian angel who had appeared just when she needed him most. Silence settled over the lemonade stand as Emily watched the teenagers disappear around the corner. She turned to face her unexpected defender, fighting to keep her voice steady despite the lingering tears. The legendary actor stood quietly, his presence bringing a sense of calm to the chaotic moment. Keanu studied the handmade sign with genuine interest, taking in every detail of Emily's careful lettering and the small lemons she'd drawn in the corners. His eyes lingered on the words, "A cup of hope," and something in his expression told Emily he understood there was more to her story than just a summer business venture. Pulling out his wallet, Keanu placed a $20 bill on the table. Emily started to reach for change, but he gently shook his head. The simple gesture carried more kindness than any words could express. As she poured his lemonade with slightly trembling hands, Emily noticed how he didn't rush her or make her feel small, the way most adults did. Taking a careful sip, Keanu's eyes widened with appreciation. The lemonade was perfectly balanced, sweet enough to bring comfort but with just enough tartness to feel authentic. It reminded him of summers long ago, of simple pleasures and genuine connections. Emily watched nervously as he savored the drink, her grandmother's recipe hanging in the balance. The late morning sun cast long shadows as Keanu settled into one of the plastic chairs Emily had set up beside her stand. His presence drew curious glances from passing cars, but his attention remained focused solely on Emily and her modest enterprise. He asked about her recipe, listening intently as she explained how her grandmother had taught her the exact measurements, the importance of fresh lemons, and the secret ingredient, a tiny pinch of salt that made the sweetness sing. As they talked, Emily's shoulders gradually relaxed. She found herself sharing small details about her stand. How she arrived early each morning to set up, how some neighbors had become regular customers, how she kept careful records in her notebook. Keanu noticed how she skipped over any mention of why she needed the money, her eyes darting away whenever the conversation veered too close to personal matters. A few customers stopped by, drawn perhaps by Keanu's presence but staying for Emily's genuine warmth and excellent lemonade. They watched as she served each person with care, making sure every cup was filled to exactly the right level, every transaction recorded in her worn notebook. Keanu observed the quiet determination in her movements, the way she counted change with practiced precision, the subtle pride in her work despite the morning's earlier humiliation. As the sun climbed higher, Keanu finished his lemonade and stood to leave. Emily's heart sank, fearing the magic of the moment would disappear with him. But before he left, he made a simple promise. He would return tomorrow to try another cup of what he declared was the best lemonade in Los Angeles. Emily watched as he mounted his motorcycle, her mind spinning with the events of the morning. The cruel words of the teenagers felt distant now, overshadowed by the kindness of a stranger who had seen her worth. She straightened her grandmother's apron, touched the silver locket at her neck, and turned to serve another customer with renewed confidence. What Emily didn't realize was that Keanu had recognized something in her, a quiet strength, a determination that reminded him of his own struggles long ago. As he rode away, he was already forming a plan. This wasn't just about a cup of lemonade or standing up to bullies. It was about showing a young girl that she didn't have to carry her burdens alone, that sometimes the universe had a way of sending help in unexpected forms. The rest of the morning passed in a blur of customers and conversations. Emily found herself telling the story of Keanu's visit to every friendly face that stopped by, each retelling helping to erase the sting of the teenager's cruelty. By the time she packed up for lunch, her notebook showed the best morning's earnings yet. As Emily wheeled her wagon home, she felt different somehow, lighter, despite the weight of her responsibilities. She didn't know that this was just the beginning, that her simple lemonade stand was about to become something much bigger than she had ever imagined. Tomorrow would bring new challenges and opportunities, but for now, she held on to the memory of kindness from an unexpected source, and the promise of another visit from her newfound guardian angel. True to his word, Keanu returned the next morning as Emily was setting up her stand. This time, he carried a small basket filled with fresh strawberries, mint leaves, and local honey. Her eyes widened at the sight, understanding blooming on her face as she realized the possibilities these ingredients offered for her lemonade. The morning light painted soft shadows across the stand as Keanu helped Emily experiment with new recipes. They discovered that a touch of muddled mint made the lemonade feel more refreshing, while strawberry-infused honey created a sweetness that customers couldn't resist. As they worked, Emily gradually began sharing pieces of her story. She told him about Tommy, her 9-year-old brother, and how he'd always been the family comedian until the diagnosis changed everything. Her voice grew quiet as she described the way the hospital bills had started piling up, how her father had lost his job trying to balance work with Tommy's treatments, and how her mother now worked double shifts at the diner. Keanu listened without judgment, his presence offering the same steady comfort as the morning sun. When Emily mentioned having to quit her beloved theater classes because they couldn't afford them anymore, he noticed how she tried to hide her disappointment behind a brave smile. It reminded him of his own struggles long ago, of times when he'd had to choose between dreams and necessities. Throughout the morning, regular customers stopped by, drawn not just by the improved lemonade but by the warm atmosphere that had developed around Emily's stand. Mrs. David from the convenience store brought extra ice without being asked. Mr. Garcia, the fruit vendor, stopped by with a bag of his best lemons, refusing payment with a gentle pat on Emily's shoulder. Keanu observed how Emily treated each customer with genuine care, remembering their names and asking about their families. He noticed how she kept every penny carefully counted in her notebook, how her eyes would occasionally drift to the total, carrying the weight of hope and worry in equal measure. As the morning progressed, Emily shared more about her grandmother's influence on her life. The recipe card, the silver ladle, the apron she wore, each item carried a story, a memory of better days. Her grandmother had taught her not just how to make lemonade, but how to face life's challenges with grace and determination. Between customers, Keanu shared his own wisdom, carefully wrapped in simple conversations about lemonade and summer days. He talked about the importance of accepting help, how strength often meant knowing when to lean on others. Emily listened, finding comfort in his words even as she wrestled with her own pride and desire to handle everything alone. The transformation in Emily was subtle but unmistakable. Her shoulders straightened a little more each time she served a customer. Her smile became more genuine, less worn by worry. When a group of younger children stopped by, she taught them how to make proper change, showing the same patience her grandmother had once shown her. As the day drew to a close, Keanu helped Emily pack up her stand. The notebook showed another successful day, better than any before. But more than the money, Emily had gained something invaluable: the knowledge that she wasn't alone in her struggle. Before leaving, Keanu made another promise, this one carrying more weight than yesterday's. He would help her transform her stand into something bigger, something that could truly make a difference for her family. Emily wanted to protest, to insist she could manage on her own, but something in Keanu's gentle determination stopped her. What Emily didn't know was that Keanu had already set plans in motion. He had observed the community's small acts of kindness: Mrs. David's ice, Mr. Garcia's lemons, the neighbors who always rounded up their payments. He saw the potential for something greater, a way to show Emily that sometimes the biggest changes started with a single cup of lemonade and a willing heart. As Emily wheeled her wagon home that evening, her grandmother's silver ladle catching the last rays of sunlight, she felt something she hadn't experienced in months: hope. Not just the desperate kind that had driven her to start the stand, but a warmer, more substantial hope that came from knowing she wasn't fighting this battle alone anymore. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, but for now, Emily held onto the memory of mint leaves and strawberries, of quiet conversations and growing trust, of a friendship that had started with a simple cup of lemonade but promised to become something much more meaningful. The change began slowly, like ripples spreading across a quiet pond. Word of Emily's stand, and the kind actor who had befriended her, traveled through the neighborhood. What started as curiosity soon transformed into something more meaningful as people learned about Tommy's condition and the family's struggles. Mr. Gonzalez, the owner of the corner grocery store, was the first to take action. After hearing Emily's story from Keanu, he began displaying a small sign in his window directing customers to Los Angeles's most special lemonade stand. Soon, other local business owners followed suit. The bakery started offering fresh cookies to complement Emily's lemonade, while the hardware store donated a proper canopy to protect her from the summer sun. The physical transformation of Emily's stand reflected the growing community support. The wobbly table was replaced by a sturdy wooden counter, hand-built by the local carpenter. A local artist painted a beautiful mural on the wall behind the stand, featuring bright lemons and the words, "A cup of hope," in flowing script. Even the teenagers who had once mocked Emily returned, this time with handwritten apologies and offers to help during busy hours. But the most intriguing development was the mysterious man who appeared every afternoon, watching from across the street. He never approached the stand directly, but his presence became a constant, like a guardian keeping silent vigil. Emily noticed how he would sometimes speak with her mother when she stopped by, their conversations hushed but intense. Keanu, who had orchestrated much of the community's involvement, kept his role subtle. He continued his daily visits, bringing fresh ingredients and quiet encouragement. Under his guidance, Emily's stand evolved into a gathering place where neighbors could connect, share stories, and support each other. The simple act of buying lemonade became a way for people to show they cared, to be part of something bigger than themselves. Local news stations caught wind of the story, though they respected the family's privacy regarding Tommy's condition. Instead, they focused on how a child's determination and a community's compassion had created something extraordinary. Each feature brought more customers, more support, and more hope. Emily's notebook now told a different story. The careful columns of numbers had grown substantially, but more importantly, the margins were filled with names. People who had offered help, made donations, or simply shared kind words. The burden she had carried alone was now shared by many hands, making it lighter without diminishing her own contribution. The most profound change, however, was in Emily herself. The shy girl who had once hidden behind her grandmother's apron now stood tall, greeting customers with genuine confidence. She had learned that accepting help didn't mean giving up control. It meant allowing others to become part of her journey. One particularly busy afternoon, as Emily served a long line of customers, she caught sight of Keanu watching from nearby. He stood quietly, a proud smile on his face as he observed the transformation his simple act of kindness had sparked. Their eyes met briefly, sharing an understanding that went beyond words. This wasn't just about selling lemonade anymore. It was about the power of community, the strength found in unity, and the magic that happened when people chose to care. The mysterious man across the street finally stepped forward that day, introducing himself as David, a pediatric oncology specialist with connections to the best children's hospitals in the city. His presence had been no accident. He had been assessing the situation, moved by the community's response and Emily's unwavering dedication to her brother. As the sun set on another successful day, Emily looked around at her transformed stand, now a symbol of hope and community spirit. The worn notebook still sat beside her cash box, but its pages now held more than just numbers. They told a story of how one cup of lemonade, served with love and determination, could change not just a family's future, but an entire community's heart. The turning point came on a bright Tuesday morning when David, the mysterious observer, approached Emily's stand with life-changing news. After weeks of coordinating with medical professionals and reviewing Tommy's case, he had arranged for special treatment at Children's Hospital Los Angeles. The program would cover most of the medical expenses, lifting an immense burden from the family's shoulders. That same week, Emily's mother started her new position at David's medical office, a job that offered better hours and health insurance. The community's support had created a bridge to stability, transforming what had seemed like an impossible situation into a path forward. Emily's father found work through connections made at the lemonade stand, his skills in accounting appreciated by local business owners who had become regular customers. Tommy's condition began to improve under the new treatment plan. His first visit to Emily's stand after weeks in the hospital brought tears to everyone's eyes. He sat in a wheelchair, weak but smiling, proudly wearing a t-shirt that read, "My sister's biggest fan." The notebook that had once held countless calculations now showed a total that exceeded anything Emily had dreamed possible. With the immediate financial pressure relieved, Emily could finally return to her beloved theater classes. The director had kept her spot open, touched by her dedication to her family. The same determination that had driven her to maintain the lemonade stand now fueled her performances, each role enriched by the real-life lessons in courage and perseverance she had learned. The stand remained open, but its purpose had evolved. Emily now used it to raise funds for other families facing similar challenges. The notebook's pages filled with new names, new stories, new hope. Local businesses continued their support, understanding that the stand had become more than just a place to buy lemonade. It was a testament to the power of community and compassion. Keanu's visits became less frequent as his filming schedule demanded more time, but his impact remained constant. He had shown Emily, and the entire neighborhood, how a simple act of kindness could spark profound change. The teenagers who had once mocked her became her most loyal helpers, having learned valuable lessons about judgment and compassion. Emily's grandmother's recipe card still held pride of place at the stand, though now it was laminated to protect it from wear. The silver ladle continued to pour hope into each cup, and the apron with its embroidered lemons became a symbol of perseverance. These familiar items remained unchanged, but they now carried new meaning, reminders of how far she had come and the countless lives touched along the way. On quiet mornings, when Emily arrived early to set up, she would sometimes pause to read the words on her new sign, "Emily's Lemonade, where hope begins." The words weren't just a slogan anymore, they were a promise to everyone who stopped by, a reminder that sometimes the sweetest victories started with something as simple as a cup of lemonade and the courage to keep going. 1 month later, the corner of Maple and Pine looked different, yet familiar. Emily's lemonade stand had evolved into a permanent neighborhood fixture, its bright canopy offering shade to a constant stream of visitors. The worn notebook had been replaced by a proper ledger, though Emily kept the original safely stored at home, a testament to how far she'd come. Tommy, now strong enough to help at the stand on weekends, had become the official taste tester for new recipes. His recovery continued steadily, marked by small victories that the entire community celebrated. Emily's parents, more relaxed with stable jobs and manageable medical bills, had rediscovered their smiles. The mural behind the stand had grown, each edition representing another family helped by the Hope Fund Emily had established. Local businesses still displayed their supportive signs, proud to be part of a movement that started with one girl's determination and an actor's kindness. Keanu's motorcycle still appeared occasionally, usually early in the morning when the streets were quiet. He would share a cup of lemonade with Emily, both of them knowing that sometimes the biggest changes in life started with the smallest acts of kindness. Emily's story had become more than just a tale of survival. It was a reminder that hope, like her grandmother's perfect lemonade recipe, was meant to be shared.